Today is a brand new day for Quack's Marble Clash because today we have the first duo event of the season and of Quack's Marble Clash history, aiming. Today we see the Stingrays have the point lead only by 4 over the King Crabs, the reigning champions, and you can see how aiming will work here. It's similar to other competitions where 2 marbles from each team will be rolling down that board and they have to get in between the white blocks. If they don't get in between, then they will not advance. But of course, they have 2 chances since they have 2 marbles, and if you only have to get 1 in order to advance. As the Malamex are demonstrating, their first was not able to do it, but their second will be able to do it pretty easily. And you can see it starts wider, and as we move into each next round, it will get narrower. But we'll begin in reverse championship order. So the Pollen Puffs will be up first, currently dead last in the standings, not looking so good after Funnel Endurance last time, and we'll see how they do here. And they are off. Spore and Seed immediately will get one down, and I think that was Spore doing an excellent job. Seed, though, not able to get it done. And that's not a great sign for the Pollen Puffs. They're going to get 1 at least, so they will still move on, but the tiebreakers are going to be based on previous rounds, so this won't help for any tiebreakers, but they will still at least advance, which is the important thing. Now the Soaring Skies, another team very low in the standings, could definitely use some points right here, and they will go into the next round with the reserve Thunderbird doing an excellent job there. Their second marble not quite will also actually do the same thing, and that was very impressive by them. So far, the first 2 doing a pretty decent job. We've seen how, with all Malamex were the only ones that really looked like they were struggling with their first marble not making it. Now the Checkmates, another team struggling so far, but that's been the story of several teams so far, and they will immediately get one through. Not too surprising at this point, and their second will as well. The Pollen Puffs, now the only team that has missed one aside from the demonstration run. So far, it seems like it's a relatively simple event in the first round, but of course it's only going to get more and more difficult as time goes on. Now the home team, the Stone Golems, a roar from the fans as we see how they will do Mecha and Automaton, and Mecha will immediately go down, doing an excellent job there. Oh, but Automaton not doing a great job. And they're one of the marbles, if I'm not mistaken, that did bowling, which bowling is the only other QMC event that really compares to this in terms of testing precision and aim, but not doing a great job there. Now the Loaves of Bread, another team that's been experienced at bowling before, but we're seeing that it's not particularly comparable, as they're going to miss their first one. Will they get a second? Yes, they will. And the Loaves of Bread will be moving on to the next round. And pretty luckily as well, they're another team they've been struggling so far this season, especially compared to last time. Currently 12th in the standings, which is not really up to their par. As now we move on to the Flying Saucers, currently middle of the standings, a little bit lower than the middle, and they'll advance pretty simply here. Not really any struggle there. Their second will as well. I believe that was their Captain Martian doing an excellent job there. They will pretty cleanly move on to the next round, pretty much perfectly down the center, just target practice really for the Flying Saucers. Now we'll see who's up next. Team Pixie, another team currently in the bottom half, but really toward the center right now, only a few points behind 9th, and their first marble will immediately go down. That was pretty impressive by then, and their second will as well. Another perfect score for Team Pixie, doing an excellent job there. And we haven't seen anybody go out yet. We're almost at the halfway point of round 1, so we'll see if anybody manages to go out or not. Now the Snapping Turtles coming out the gold medal last event, but of course that was with Yertle, and Toby and Tortimer are their 2 competitors here, and Toby will immediately go down. Tortimer goes to the opposite side, and we're seeing how both sides, I guess they're testing the waters on both sides, or perhaps Tortimer just overcorrected, trying to get perfectly down the center, but either way, they will get 2 still. And now we move on to the Rose Rollers. Let's see what they can do as we're now moving in to the top half of the standings, and they'll do a bit of a sidestepping in the funnel there. It looks like their first marble really wanted to go down first, but either way, they will still get 2 there, which is another perfect run for them, and that means yet another team will be moving on with a perfect score. We've so far not really seen any struggles here. As now the Red Rockets currently lower in the standings than they've been most of the season, but they will immediately get one with Tank, and their second marble not able to get it done there. That was Booster, not doing quite as great a job, but still Tank will be able to get it done, which is a bit rarer for that marble, but it looks like they're going to be moving on just barely. As now the Ivy League, let's see what they can do as they're coming out now. And they are off their first marble, not able to get it done. Ivy Lace, now their captain has to do it, and they will. They were in a bit of peril there, but of course they will still be moving on to the next round. So far we haven't seen anybody go out yet, but the Ivy League were one of the first that were really in a bind there, needed to get their second marble in. Now the Slush Rush, the Red Rockets were lower than they've ever been, but the Slush Rush have basically never been higher, and they will already get 1 in. They'll get 2 in as well. I believe that was Grapple and Hale, both doing an excellent job there. A little bit off to the left side, but we'll have to see which side these marbles prefer. They both went off to the left side a little bit. Hale had a lot of speed there, as you can see. But now the City Lights, another team that's, as we keep moving higher and higher in the order, their reserve will immediately go down. That was Lamp, just coming off of a medal in the last event, and their second marble will do it as well. Very impressive by the City Lights with Diode and Lamp. And Lamp is proving to be a pretty experienced marble, at least for now, managing to get it through here in back-to-back events. But now we move on to the Flashbangs, currently third in the standings, fell off of the top few spots in the last event, and their reserve will get it, but their second marble is not going to be able to get it done. I believe that was Blink, perhaps? Or no, that was Strobe, but Strobe is not going to be able to make it in. That's a bit surprising, but their reserve, at the very least, is going to be able to get it done, but only one marble. Now the King Crabs are getting down to the last couple runs. Will anyone go out in round one, or will they all survive? And we're off. Coconut, not able to get it done. Now their second marble. Will the King Crabs do it? Yes, they will. Perfectly down the center for Yeti. And that was pretty impressive by their second marble. Just perfect, very fast as well, rolling really deep into the zone there. And now we move on to the final run. The Stingrays, currently the point leaders, going out in round one would be disastrous here, but they will not do so. Their first marble will go down immediately, and their captain Sting will do the same thing there. Very impressive by the team currently in the point lead, and that means that nobody's going out round one. Very surprising here, despite the we saw the Malameks were struggling early on, but of course they still managed to get one through at least as well. So now we move on to round two. The gap is getting a little bit smaller, as now the Pollen Puffs line back up once again, have to go again, and they will get one immediately. Their second marble Spore will also get through, and that means the Pollen Puffs are perfect this round compared to how they were in the first round, and pretty solid. That she'll hopefully will result in a decent points haul for a team that's currently at the bottom. Now the Soaring Skies, as we go back to the bottom of the standings, their first marble is not going to be able to get it done. Will their second marble? No! The Soaring Skies will be the first team out. Disastrous for the team, 15th in the standings. Of course, that doesn't mean they'll necessarily get dead last in this event. It depends on how many other teams will go out this round. I don't remember quite how well they did in the first round, but that could have an impact on the tiebreaker. Now the Checkmates immediately get one through, and now that we've seen the first team go, it's the pressure is now going to mount quickly, as there's a lot more strategy involved in trying to get through compared to the first round. But the Checkmates bumping into each other, the teammates perhaps a bit of a fist bump or a marble bump, but now the Stone Golems, let's see what they can do. Their reserve immediately goes down, similar to the first round, and their second, once again, not able to get it done. Automaton has really been struggling so far, but Mecha has been pulling in the work to go perfectly down the center, and the Stone Golems will be moving on once again. So far, they definitely need the points. They're lower now than they've been for most of the season, as now the Loaves of Bread line up here, and their first marble way off to the right side. Now their second marble has to go through, and they just barely will. They're almost off to the left side, but they just barely managed to go through. I believe that was Bagel doing an excellent job. Bagel was the one who went off, but their other will manage to get through, and the Loaves of Red just narrowly escape. Now the Flying Saucers, let's see what they can do with Martian and Jovian. And they're off. Their first marble will go through. That means they're immediately going to the next round. Will their captain do so? Yes, they will. 2 for 2 are the Flying Saucers. Perfect so far, at least in this round. And they'll do a pretty excellent job here. Another team that's toward the middle of the standings, but a good result here could push them up pretty high, is now Team Pixie. Let's see what they can do, as we're getting almost halfway to point. Their first marble's not able to get done. Now they have to put their second marble through, and they will. Team Pixie will be moving on to the next round. That was a bit of a scare for their first marble. Of course, with Team Pixie, it's a bit hard to tell if that was their first, which one of their teammates it was. But now the Snapping Turtles with Tortimer and Toya. Let's see what they can do here. And they're off their first marble. Ooh, just barely. They bounce off the wall. That is allowed, so they will still count as going through. And Tortimer will seal the deal there. If there was any doubt about their first, then they'll definitely move on with their second. So we're seeing here how you have to be very careful. Toby was pretty lucky to bounce into the zone, but Tortimer will go perfectly through. Now the Rose Rollers. Let's see what they can do here, and they will immediately get one through, and that means they're already clear to go to the next round. Will their second? Yes, they will. And, of course, that will help. The tiebreakers are still based on previous rounds, so getting perfect in each round will help a lot, considering it's likely that multiple will go through. But speaking of, we're more than halfway through this round, and still only one elimination in the Soaring Skies. Now the Red Rockets immediately get one through with Tank, just as they did round one. Now will Booster be able to redeem themselves? No. Another miss for Booster, and so far, I never thought I'd say this, but Tank is really carrying them so far. Meanwhile, Booster is trying their best, but they've been off to the left and off to the right. Perhaps they were just overcorrecting for round one. So now the Ivy League were moving up into the top few in the standing, currently 6th place, tied with the Red Rockets, and they will immediately get one with Ivy League. And now their captain Hedera not able to get it done. Way up, rolling all the way down the plank, but pretty interesting strategy there. Perhaps just rolling away in shame, but either way, the Ivy League will still move on, but that's not going to be great for tiebreakers. Now the Slush Rush, another team that's moving up in the standings, coming off of a medal last event, and they will go through. They're actually coming off of 2 medals in the last 2 events, and their second marble goes through as well. But they're trying to make it 3 for 3 here. So far, been very solid this event with Grapple and Hail. And that is 2 now as we're moving into the last 4 of this round. And so far it's been a long one with the first round and the second round having everybody in them. As now the City Lights move out and Lamp will immediately go through. And the City Lights have guaranteed advancement into the third round. Ooh, but Diode is not going to be able to get it done. But going off to the right side, we've seen quite a few going off to both sides at this point. But the right side, it seems like they like dancing away on the plank there. But the City Lights will still move on. Now the Flashbangs. Let's see what they can do with Strobe and Flicker. And they're off. Ooh, a bit of dancing in the funnel there, and it will not help. Now Flicker has to do it, and they will not be able to do it. The Flashbangs, one of the big championship contenders right now, will be going out here in round 2. They're so far one of only 2 teams to go out this round alongside the Soaring Skies, but that is a dangerous position to be in with only 2 runs left. Now the King Crabs trying to track down their rivals, the Stingrays, and they're off their first marble, not able to get it done. Now Coconut has to perform, and they will not be able to do so. The King Crabs, 2 in a row now, they're going to be going out here. It seems like the championship contenders are struggling. The 2 of the top 3 out in this second round. Now the Stingrays, with seeing the last 2 go out back-to-back, has to be nerve-wracking, but we'll see how they do. Their first marble, will they come down? Yes, they will. Perfect down the center for both of them. Very quick, one after the other. Seems almost like they're waiting in the funnel for the perfect opportunity, and that'll be a pretty much perfect run for the Stingrays. This also will definitely help their championship hopes with their 2 biggest rivals going 15th and 16th in this event. The King Crabs getting dead last. Soaring Skies at least getting 14th, but the King Crabs, if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time they've ever gotten 16th in an event, but very disappointing for them. Now the Pollen Puffs, speaking of 16th, they will immediately get one through, doing a very solid job, and their second will as well. The Pollen Puffs have been pretty decently consistent so far. Very impressive by the team, currently last in the standings, despite the Soaring Skies going out, but now we're only down to 13 in this round, as you can see in the graphic. But now the Checkmates, let's see what they can do compared to the Pollen Puffs. And they're off their first round, not able to get it done. Now their second has to perform here, and they will not be able to get it done. The Checkmates will be going down here. That's a bit surprising. Another team that we've seen be consistent so far, but it's just not going to happen for them. Knight and Pawn, neither one of them able to get through. Now the Stone Golems, the home team. After we've only had a 50% success rate so far this round, but they will immediately get both of them through. That was very quick, similar to the Stingrays last round, where they just sent both of them down, one after the other, and Mecha will be 3 for 3 now, I believe, and Automaton will finally redeem themselves with a point here, as now we move on to the Loaves of Bread, only the 4th round of these 13, and we're off to the left side. Now their second has to go in, ooh, and it's not going to happen. The Loaves of Bread are another team out. We've only seen teams really higher or lower in the standings going out here, no one toward the middle. We've seen the big championship contenders and the Loaves of Bread, currently 12th in the standings, will be going down here. Now the Flying Saucers. Let's see what they can do here. And they're off their first. Oh, it's just barely off to the left side. Now their Captain Martian has to get it done here, and they will perfectly down the center. And the Flying Saucers will be moving on. There was a bit of a scare there. They're just barely off to the left side. We're seeing how fine the margins can get as the gap will get thinner and thinner, as now we move on to Team Pixie. So far, they've been very consistent. And their first marble, ooh, bounces off the wall, but they will still get in. And Team Pixie is moving on. Their second, even more precise than that. And Team Pixie has been proving very solid so far. And we'll get another perfect run here as we're already nearing the halfway point of this round, as it's a bit shorter. Now Snapping Turtles with Tortimer and Toby. And coming off of the gold medal last event, trying to make it 2 for 2. But Toby's off to the left side here. Oh, they're rolling back in almost, but Tortimer will go through. Toby almost had an interesting situation there, rolling back into the zone, but not quite able to get that done. But either way, Tortimer will pull off the save there to move on into the next round. As now the Rose Rollers go out here, Lily and Tulip. And they are off. Their first marble immediately goes through. And that means they will be moving on to the next round. Will their second as well? Yes. And I believe that was Lily doing an excellent job there. Those two, we've seen them getting very physical in the funnel there. But this time they're a bit more clean. And they will both go through. Perhaps a bit of a teammate rivalry. But now we move on to the Red Rockets as we're getting down to the last few once again. Currently top half of the standings. Tank goes way off to the left side. Now Booster has to perform here. And they will. Redeeming themselves for the last couple of rounds. They've been struggling before, but now Booster will finally be able to get it done when their teammate couldn't. And that means we only have 4 more runs left, but we've already seen quite a few go down this round. Now the Ivy League, currently top 6 in the standings, trying to move up into the podium zone, and their captain will be able to get it done. Ivy Lace will as well. The Ivy League will be moving on to the next round with a perfect score here. You can see there's a bit of dancing around in the funnel once again, as we've seen with some teams. Perhaps a bit of strategy involved in who goes first, who has more energy, who's more precise. And now we move on to the Slush Rush. So far, pretty much perfect. Will they do it again? Grapple will go down now. Hail. Will they be able to get it done? Yes, they will. The Slush Rush have been very precise so far this event, trying to make it 3 in a row. As we've seen, they've been very strong as the second half has started. And 3 for 3, I should say, are they. Now the City Lights. with Diode and Lamp. Let's see what they can do here, and immediately we'll get one down. The reserve Lamp doing an excellent job, evidently not phased. Ooh, but Diode way off to the right side. That was not how you want to do it. But as I was saying, Lamp, the reserve of the City Lights, evidently not phased despite coming off of Funnel Endurance last event, which is one of the most exhausting events on the roster. As now we move on to the Stingrays, currently the point leaders, the last run of this round, and we are off their first marble off to the left side. Now Sting, the captain, has to get it done here, and they will do so. It was a bit of it looked almost like they were in trouble, but they will still be able to move on just barely thanks to their captain. But now we've seen the Stingrays moving on once again. That will only help grow their point lead depending on how far they go in. The Checkmates and Loaves of Bread, the only two teams that will be going out this round, but we'll see how far the rest of the teams can go. Still 11, making it to round 4. Very impressive. As now we move on once again to the Pollen Puffs. We circle back to them each round, and we're off their first marble. Now they will make it to the next round, and their second will as well. They're a bit off to the right side, their second one was, but their first was off to the left, perhaps just trying to figure out the bounds of this one, or perhaps just the difficulty in trying to stay precise when the gap keeps getting thinner. Now the Stone Golems are only the second run this time, as most of the teams beneath them have been eliminated, but Mecha can't do it. Can Automaton? No! And the Stone Golems will be going down here. The home team not going to be able to get a medal, depending on how many other teams go out this round, but considering there's still 9 more to go, it's unlikely. But the Stone Golems will be going down here. Now the Flying Saucers, as more and more teams are going out, we're seeing more and more teams go early in the round, and the Flying Saucers immediately get one. That was pretty much perfectly down the center. Now their second marble, can they do it? Yes, they can. Their Captain Martian doing an excellent job there, and the Flying Saucers perfect here. They're unfazed by this small gap. They will still be moving on to the next round. We've seen so many teams have really mastered this, despite how thin the gap is, managing to get both of their teammates through. Now Team Pixie, will they be able to get it here? Oh, their first is off. Now their second has to perform here, and it's not going to happen. Team Pixie is going down here. A bit depressing for them, but it'll be another mishap for them. Off to the left side was their first, and their second rolling away. Perhaps had a bit more momentum, as we can see, but just not going to happen. Now the Snapping Turtles, as we're already nearing the halfway point of this round, immediately will go through. And Tortimer, will they be able to join their teammate Toby? No, way off to the right side. Not how you want to do it, but of course they still have guaranteed advancement, which is really the important thing, no matter how many you get through, but that won't help for the tiebreakers, only getting 1. Now we move on to the Rose Rollers with Lily and Tulip. We'll see how they compare to the last few rounds, and their first marble bounces off to the left side, but they will still get in. Ooh, but Lily is not going to be able to get it done. They will only get 1 here, and that was a bit surprising for Lily, who's one of the more experienced marbles on their team, but they will still get 1 in. They're a bit off to the left side there, and now the Red Rockets has moved from one red and white team to another, and Tank is not going to be able to get it done. Now Booster has to perform here, and they're off to the right side, as we've seen them before. The Red Rockets will be going down here. Another team currently higher up in the standings, at least in the top half, and not going to be able to get a great points haul here. Probably going to be at least toward the middle, perhaps bottom half, depending on how many go out here. As now the Ivy League, let's see what they can do compared to their rivals. If they can advance here, then they'll guarantee they'll pass them in the points. And they bounce off their teammate there. Oh, and I'm not sure what they're going to call that here. Their captain, Hedera, they only made it in after bouncing off of their teammate. I'm not sure if that's going to be allowed, and yes, it will. The graphic comes on screen, meaning the stewards have allowed it, and the Ivy League fans are thrilled at that one. Quite a save, and a bit of a creative strategy from their captain. But now we move on to the Slush Rush, currently 5th in the standings, and immediately go through. Grappa will. Now will Hale join them? Yes, oh, just barely they will, bouncing off the wall. But the Slush Rush have been so consistent. They've been probably the most consistent team of anyone so far. Now their 4th round where they get 2 marbles in. Is now the City Lights with Diode and Lamp, another team that's made it pretty far, especially for a team higher in the order, and their reserve will go through. Now Diode just has to coast here, and they will go through as well. And that'll help for tiebreakers. The City Lights, now that the King Crabs and Flashbangs go out in the first 2 positions, that means that the City Lights have a big opportunity here to gain a lot of positions in the points, try to catch up to the Stingrays. And speaking of the Stingrays, they're going out now. The Stingrays not going to be able to get it done with their first marble. Their captain has to do it here off to the right side. And the Stingrays are done. This means the City Lights have a big opportunity here with all of the top 3 out. The top 4 in the standings only separated by 8 points, meaning the City Lights have a big chance to catch up depending on how the rest of the teams do. Team Pixie getting best of the rest here. The Stone Golems getting 9th. The Stingrays 10th and Red Rockets 11th. That means the Stingrays only getting 10th place. The City Lights have a big chance with basically all of the other teams above them floundering in this event. Now we move on to the Pollen Puffs. We only have 7 teams left, more than half the teams out. Look at how fine that gap is. Oh, and a bit of teamwork there will send the reserve in, and that's sort of similar to what we saw with the Ivy League, using their teammate to push the other, but they will still be counted as 1 point. But Now we move on to the Flying Saucers. We've seen how small this gap is as the Pollen Puffs have moved on. The Flying Saucers will just barely get in with Jovian, and their second marble, Martian, way off to the right side. Their captain, not showing why they're the captain, but still that one marble will be enough. They did still make contact with the wall, but we haven't seen any truly clean runs into this zone so far. But of course, we're only on run 3. Now the Snapping Turtles with Toby and Tortimer. Toby off to the left side, stops dead in their tracks. Now Tortimer will bounce off their teammate and will go in. And we've seen a lot of the creative strategies ever since the Ivy League did that move. Now a lot of teams are adopting similar ones to try and increase their odds. But so far we haven't seen any truly clean runs, as now we move on to the Rose Rollers, already at the halfway point of this round. And their first marble off to the left side. Now their second has to do it, and it's not going to happen. Both off to the left side. And that means that the Rose Rollers will be going down here. Of course, we don't really know where they're going to be finishing with how many runs are left, but it's unlikely to be, well, it can be a medal, but now we move on to the Ivy League. Their first marble off to the right side. Now their captain Hedera has to get through here, and it's not going to happen. The Ivy League, well, they came so close there with their captain Hedera, but they're just barely off to the left side, and that means they will be going away with nothing here, or at the very least, not in this round. Now the Slush Rush, currently pretty much the best team in this event so far. Will they get through to Grapple? Way out to the right side. Now Hale has to perform under pressure here. It's not going to happen. The Slush Rush, one of the most surprising exits we've seen. They will not be moving on to the next round. They're out. And they will not be getting a medal here either. So far we've seen quite a few more surprising teams move on. But now we move on to the City Lights, one of the teams I mentioned, trying to take advantage of all the top teams floundering. And Lamp will immediately go through perfectly down the center. And Diode will join them. Perfect 2 for 2. Or the City Lights. That's very impressive by them. And that means they will be moving on, and they have the advantage in the tiebreakers. Because they're the only team here, if I'm not mistaken, they're the only team in this round to get 2. And Slush Rush will get best of the rest over the Rose Rollers and Ivy League. But because the City Lights have 2, that means that they have an advantage in the tiebreakers. So we move on to this next round. And of course, if nobody goes in, then it'll just go down to tiebreakers. There's no sudden death, so the Pollen Puffs will be first up. Now they have to aim to the right side for once, which is not going to work for their first marble. Their second will go through. The Pollen Puffs, last place in the standings, despite being off and having to test a pretty much different skill set here, trying to aim yourself to the right, will manage to get one through, which could be huge for their chances at a medal here. Now the Flying Saucers, another team lower in the standings, trying to pull away here. Their first marble way off to the left side, more toward the center, and their second not going to be able to get it done. That would have been perfect in the last round, but just not going to happen. The Flying Saucers will not be taking the gold, but of course they still have a chance at a medal depending on how the rest of the runs go. Now let's see what the Snapping Turtles can do. Another team that's been very consistent so far this event, trying to make it 2 medals in a row, 2 golds in a row, but their first is not going to make it through. Now Tortimer has to get it done. It's not going to happen. It looked almost like they were trying to sort of billiards ball their teammate and knock them into the zone, but it just wasn't going to happen. The Snapping Turtles are out. Now it all comes down to the City Lights. If they make it here, then we will go to the next round. Otherwise, the Pollen Puffs win gold. Lamp is not going to be able to get it done. Now it comes down to Diode. Will they make it through? No. And the City Lights will not be able to get it done here. They will have to settle for the silver, I believe, because of those tiebreakers that I mentioned. But that means that with the only success in this round, the Pollen Puffs take the gold medal. The City Lights come away with the silver, and the Flying Saucers get the bronze. The Pollen Puffs enjoying that one. This is their first ever mainly gold medal, really their first ever gold medal, and they will only get 1 through in those last couple rounds, but still very impressive performance all around with several 2s, and the City Lights coming just shy of that despite being perfect in round 5, the only team to do so. But looking at the standings, the City Lights move up into the point lead despite not having a gold medal. They've gotten 4 medals this season, but none of them have been gold. Meanwhile, the Stingrays drop down into second place. The Slush Rush, despite not getting a medal here, jump up into third place, putting themselves into the title battle. But of course, still a lot of time for things to change as we move on to the next event, which will be jousting. Of course, before that, we head back to the B League for aiming. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.